Alright guys, straight up, this is the worst I've ever had the privilege of mouth breathing. This is so toxic. I'm out in wilderness surrounded by trees and I think I'm colorblind and that's potent. That's potent. Anyway, what's going on guys? Welcome back to another BMW adventure. Today we're working on the 335i. We're trying to fix up that trashed and smashed front bumper. We still have all the goodies from doing the trunk and LCI conversion. Taillights up there, all the other goodies and such. Hoarding all these other good parts for the Ford Mustang LS swap. So, got our new 8.8, got our LS, and our transmission, so we are ready for that. But today, we're gonna go ahead and start ripping that front bumper off. Also, peep that wall. Check that out, that's pretty damn cool, huh? Not too bad. So we're stepping up our decorations in the garage. Starting out pretty banging. So, let's rip that front bumper off. So we got the bumper off and we can actually see why we're doing this now. So over here we've got this one gnarly crack. It's about that long, some paint chips, you know, the usual. Underneath this thing's been slammed in more curbs than I care to know about. Again, we got another gnarly crack over here. Now I could probably just buy a new bumper, but we do have a bumper repair kit for the urethane, so I'm not too concerned. That's getting covered with front lips, and eventually I do have big plans for upgrading the front bumper, so honestly for now I'm not actually too worried about it. I have paint left over from the other project, so for the couple hours it's going to take, I think it's probably worth just scuffing this down and respraying and doing a little bit of repairs. But over here is the big issue that I've had the problem with. Now it's very clearly rubbed into something and you know, done a little bit of persuading, and I was washing it and this started flaking off, as well as all the clear coat here. It's pretty obvious whenever they did the hit here, they just kind of scuffed it down and then did a spray bomb with a rattle can, and that's not going to work. So we're going to do it properly, make this go away, and at the end this should hopefully look pretty good. So we're just removing these vents now, which are actually incredibly difficult. So that's pretty neat. This has about 1 million tabs per vent or grill. Yeah, we're gonna start ripping these vents out and then jump right into it. So we're pretty much at the end of our day here. I started this pretty late and it is bedtime for old Lutz here, but I'm gonna go ahead and try and super glue this first crack. And if I can nail this first one, because this is what I'm actually worried about, this is more or less just has to be structural, but that's getting covered with my front lips I'm putting on. This one has to look presentable, ideally. So they give you literally just super glue in this kit. Hopefully I have enough and hopefully this isn't dried up. So if I can nail this, hold it together and have it basically cure and harden perfectly. The bodywork on the front is basically left to a minimal, which is ideal because I'm actually not pouring a whole lot of work into this bodywork. We are using a urethane, which is sort of like a Bondo, just a little more difficult to use, but it will allow a little more flex and it won't crumble. So we went ahead and we super glued this, and if it's... Ooh. Okay, so I didn't nail it, but it could be worse. This spider is pretty gnarly, so on the outside I'm gonna have to go all the way up to where the headlight is, but it's holding and it's borderline structural. Unfortunately, I don't trust this overnight, so we are gonna have to squeeze these little tubes of toothpaste into this next. We're gonna go ahead and mix it on a piece of cardboard because that is very frowned upon. If it's anything like any body filler or anything, that's a hard no. We're gonna do it anyway. And we're gonna throw a little strip of fiberglass weave tape, they call it, I think, on the back just to make me feel good, although I don't think that's going to do a whole lot for us in the long run, but it's happening, so there's no going back. So gonna go ahead and scuff this off camera with some rocks, 80 to 120, might as well just use gravel at that point, and then try slathering some of this toothpaste on and see what it does, I guess. Alright guys, straight up, this is the worst I've ever had the privilege of mouth breathing. This is so toxic. I'm out in wilderness surrounded by trees and I think I'm colorblind and that's potent. That's potent. Anyway, that one's pretty much lathered up. This one equally lathered up. So if I can stand this up without ruining everything I've ever worked on. Easy, tease it. Oh, easy, easy, easy. I also super glued my glove to the outside. That got really hot. Didn't know that was a thing, but it is a thing. So now we have these cracks visible. I'm now gonna have to sand my glove off. And then we can use that same stuff on the front as a body filler. And then up here is going to be a little more involved. But again, we pretty much have the structure on the back. If I go ahead and let these pretty much cure overnight, then we're pretty much set to flip it over. Do the same thing on the front just to smooth out those cracks, get it in there nice and happy. And then we're basically set to start sanding and priming. So let this cure and catch you guys in the morning. Well, it's the next day. Beautiful day. Car looks terrible. So the back side looks pretty good. Today we have to tackle the front side. So over here I glued my glove to the bumper. So I get to sand that away. And then we're gonna go ahead on all of these cracks we see up here. This one I'm not concerned about too much. This one I want to look pretty damn perfect. That's not gonna happen, but we'll see what we can do. Down here we have some spidering and cracking in the actual paint itself. So a lot of that's gonna have to get sanded off. We're gonna have to go pretty deep. So gouge these out with a die grinder so we can get some of that urethane in there and then use that to basically fuse it together on the front as well, and then we're going to be basically set, so start gouging. Alright guys, we've gone ahead, we have gouged all these cracks out now, so actually we have some surface to bite into. Did this one up here. Down here I think we can get away with just sanding through all the paint down to the actual bumper material. So up here we're going to basically lather it in and then just try and smear it so it's as even as possible. There's still some glove in there, that's forever part of the car, so rip glove. And then, you know, let this cure for 2 hours and we can start sanding the rest of it, and hopefully I do a good job the first time and don't have to smell this stuff ever again. So let's see if I can pull this off even the slightest. I think so. I think we can nail it. Okay, so that honestly could have gone better, could have gone worse. So I gouged it into the grooves as much as I could, then smoothed it out, then ran over it with my finger. Got off as much excess as I could. Now we're gonna have to nail this with like some 80 grit or something crazy, but once this cures, we can smooth it flat, and I think that'll fill in all those little pinholes. It's not gonna look perfect, but honestly, like, without having chunks like that and whatever this is going on, I think I'll be pretty happy. Just getting rid of all these specks, I think we'll be pretty good. So let this cure for a couple hours, come back and see how it looks. So for the interest of this video, I am not filming pretty much all of the sanding because it's sanding. It's pretty straightforward. So this is still kind of curing, maybe a little half hour longer. So that's still gonna take some shaping. Over here we got the first section pretty much smooth and done. We got it scuffed down, pretty much roughed up the clear coat. So we're gonna hop on to wet sanding now with 400 grit, get this down pretty much nice and beauty. We're gonna start shaping some of these corners that didn't line up perfectly when we had to basically glue and line it up. Cut that down and then make it look presentable. Again, these corners are being covered by front lips, so that's gonna hide a lot of this curb rash. Up here, I don't know what I can do. I'm not looking to make it perfect, so smooth it out a bit, but all these little imperfections and dots, I'm gonna see if I have glazing putty. If not, those may show up. It depends how much primer we have and how much we can lay down, but it's coming along pretty nice, so I'm starting to get excited. We still have a lot of work ahead of us. All this splotchy clear coat, we have to cut right through all of that. So a lot of sanding ahead. So I'm gonna start wet sanding and then catch up to you guys when I'm done, ready to prime, I think. So it was a late day of doing and redoing body work on this poor crumpled thing. It turns out I had a crack, I think, here on one of these sides. Another spider, that's neat. Oh, smeared it into the primer, that's even better. So this is the only spot giving me an issue. For some reason I couldn't get that stuff to actually cure in there, so trying it again. Let it cure overnight. We sanded it down, primed the rest of it. We're gonna go ahead, hit it with 400 grit, probably wet sand, and then we're basically ready to go. So unfortunately we ran out of this color primer, which is the color I want, you know, when you're doing uniform and consistent. So fortunately a lot of this will get sanded off, but we're basically ready to shoot. So I'm gonna scuff her down to 400, and then next you'll see we'll be spraying some color on this thing. So hopefully I can make this nice and smooth and presentable. So see what happens. So the bumper's been curing for just a couple hours now, and it's actually not looking too bad. So this is the little problem area we were having, and you can see a couple gouges, but I'm honestly not too concerned. It's actually looking really good, which is surprising. So this used to have a ton of rock chips. So going from that to this now, I'm actually really happy. So we have a couple things sitting in it that, all right, never mind. It's actually not too bad. Now this was a problem side, and you can see right here, this went really deep in the gouges when they definitely rubbed it into something. So barely tell, I'm actually pretty happy with this. So it cost me no money really to go over this and redo it. I got some front lips to put on. And you slam in my new fog lights, so let's basically get her installed, guys. Well, once again, it's another day. Bumper's just hanging on there. We put some grills in, put the fog lights in. These are the old ones, so we got some new shiny boys in there. And I am going to catch a lot of hate for these, putting some front lips on the Beamer. And I'm going to catch some hate for not paint matching them. So I was very torn on what I wanted to do, whether I want to go paint match or not. And these original black pieces look terrible. I painted them a nice gloss black to match the rear diffuser I just put on. So honestly, I think this will tie it together. I'm pretty excited. So slam these on. Let's get her done, boys. So not quite the M4 style front bumper I was looking for, but honestly, I'm so happy with how this turned out. Those fog lights, the front lips, everything actually looks pretty good. So, front end of the car done. I don't even know what to do next. Pretty happy with how this turned out though. So time to wax it, polish it, and then we're basically set. That's it for today, guys. Thanks for watching.